The perfect life that wasn't. The champagne bubbles sparkled under the crystal chandeliers of the Grand Meridian Hotel. I stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights of Manhattan twinkle like earthbound stars. My reflection in the glass showed a young woman in a midnight blue dress, her dark hair swept up elegantly, a smile playing on her lips. That woman was me, Maya-chan, 24 years old, and I thought I had everything figured out. There's my brilliant architect. Daniel Sterling's voice came from behind me, warm as honey. His arms wrapped around my waist, and I leaned back against his chest, feeling safe and loved. You look absolutely stunning tonight. I turned to face him, taking in his perfect features. Sharp jawline, ocean blue eyes. That smile that had first captured my heart 3 years ago, when I joined Sterling and Associates fresh out of graduate school. Daniel was 32, sophisticated, and the heir to one of New York's most respected architectural firms. Dating him felt like living in a fairy tale. Thank you for everything, Daniel, I whispered. For believing in me, for supporting my designs, for being here through everything. Tonight was supposed to be my crowning achievement. The company gala was celebrating the announcement of the Riverside Tower project, a revolutionary mixed-use building that combined affordable housing with luxury condos. It was my design, my vision, and it was going to change the city's skyline forever. You deserve all of this, Maya, Daniel said, kissing my forehead. Your talent is extraordinary. I'm just lucky I found you first. #### the accusation. The evening shattered like dropped glass exactly at 9:47 p.m. Richard Sterling, Daniel's father and the company's founder, took the stage. His expression was grave, not celebratory as I'd expected. My stomach twisted with sudden dread. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid I have disturbing news. Richard's voice boomed through the microphone. It has come to our attention that the Riverside Tower design was stolen from another firm. We have evidence that one of our architects committed corporate espionage. The room fell silent. My heart hammered against my ribs. This had to be about someone else. Couldn't be about me. I designed every inch of that building myself, spent countless nights perfecting every detail. Maya-chan. Richard's eyes locked onto mine across the crowded ballroom. Please step forward. My legs felt like water as I moved through the parting crowd. People I'd worked with for 3 years stared at me with suspicion and disgust. I searched for Daniel in the crowd, needing his support, his defense. He stood near his father, his face carefully blank. Daniel, I called out, my voice shaking. Tell them. You know I would never. Maya, the evidence is clear, Daniel said coldly, as if I were a stranger. We found the original files from Harrison and Reed on your computer. You copied their West Side Commons design and presented it as your own. What? No. That's impossible. Panic clawed at my throat. Those files aren't mine. Someone must have planted them. Richard held up a tablet, showing my computer screen with files I'd never seen before. Timestamps, email trails, all pointing to me. It was perfect, too perfect. Security is calling the police, Richard announced. Miss Chan, you're fired effective immediately, and we will be pressing charges for theft of intellectual property and corporate espionage. #### the trap. I ran. Pure instinct drove me through the ballroom doors, my heels clicking frantically on the marble floor. I had to get to my office, had to find proof that this was all lies. My keycard still worked, they hadn't deactivated it yet. I burst into my office on the 32nd floor, my hands shaking as I turned on my computer. Looking for something, Maya? I spun around to find Victoria Hayes standing in my doorway. Victoria was Daniel's executive assistant, a stunning blonde with ice blue eyes who had always been coolly professional with me. But now her smile was cruel and triumphant. Victoria, thank God. You have to help me. Someone framed me, planted those files. I know, she said simply, stepping into the office and closing the door behind her. I planted them. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? Why would you? Because Daniel chose you, Victoria spat, her composed mask cracking. 3 years I watched him parade you around, his perfect little architect, his talented girlfriend. Do you know how long I've loved him? Since college. Since before you even knew he existed. My mind reeled, trying to process this betrayal. Daniel knows about this? Victoria laughed, a harsh sound. Who do you think helped me plan it? Maya, you were always just a convenience. Daniel needed your designs, your fresh ideas. But he loves me. He's always loved me. No, I whispered. He wouldn't. He would, and he did. Victoria pulled out her phone, showing me photos that destroyed my world. Daniel and Victoria together, intimate, clearly a couple. The dates went back 2 years. Our entire relationship had been a lie. The Riverside Tower design really was brilliant, Victoria continued conversationally. Daniel will take credit for it now, of course. Your career is over, Maya. You'll be lucky if you don't go to prison. But don't worry. Daniel and I will make sure everyone remembers your name as a cautionary tale about ambition and theft. ##### the fire. Rage, pure and burning, flooded through me. I lunged for Victoria's phone, needing that evidence, needing proof of their scheme. We struggled, crashing into my desk. Files scattered, my coffee mug shattered. The phone skidded across the floor. You won't get away with this, I screamed, grabbing the phone. I'll expose both of you. Victoria's eyes widened with something that looked like fear for the first time. Then I smelled it, smoke. In our struggle, we'd knocked over the halogen desk lamp, and it had fallen onto the scattered papers. Flames were already licking up the curtains. Fire! Victoria shrieked, running for the door. I tried to follow, but in my panic, I tripped over my broken heel. The phone flew from my grasp, sliding under the filing cabinet. I crawled toward it. That phone was my only proof. Smoke filled my lungs. The heat was intense, growing by the second. My fingers closed around the phone just as I heard the door slam. I looked up to see Daniel standing in the doorway, backlit by the hallway lights. Hope surged through me. Daniel, help me. He stared at me for a long moment, his face unreadable through the thickening smoke. Then he stepped back and pulled the door closed. I heard the lock click. Daniel, I screamed, pounding on the door. Please, don't do this. The fire alarm was blaring now, but the floor was empty. Everyone was still at the gala 32 floors below. The flames spread faster, feeding on the wooden furniture, the paper files, the fabric of my life. I tried to break the window, but it was reinforced glass, designed to withstand hurricane winds. The smoke was so thick I could barely see. My skin felt like it was melting. I collapsed to the floor, trying to find breathable air. This was how I would die, burned alive in my own office, framed for crimes I didn't commit, murdered by the man I loved and trusted. #### the aftermath. I woke up to pain. Not regular pain. All-consuming agony that made me wish I was still unconscious. Machines beeped around me. Fluorescent lights burned my eyes. She's awake, a woman's voice said. Get Dr. Morrison. Slowly, reality came into focus. Hospital room. Burn unit. My mother's tear-stained face hovering over me, her hand carefully avoiding touching my bandaged arms. Maya, sweetheart, you're alive, Mom sobbed. The firefighters found you. You've been in a medically induced coma for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. My throat felt like sandpaper. Mirror, I croaked. No, honey, not yet. Mirror. I insisted. Mom reluctantly held up her phone, the screen black enough to show my reflection. I wish she hadn't. The woman staring back at me was a monster. Burns covered the left side of my face, neck and shoulder. My hair was gone on that side. My skin was mottled red and white, stretched tight with scar tissue. I turned away, bile rising in my throat. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be me. The doctors say you're lucky to be alive, Dad said from the doorway, his voice thick with emotion. The burns are severe, but you'll heal. That's what matters. What about Daniel? I asked. Victoria? The fire. My parents exchanged glances. Maya, Dad said carefully. Daniel Sterling has been on the news. He's called you mentally unstable, said you started the fire yourself when you were caught stealing. The evidence against you is overwhelming. I didn't. We know, baby, Mom said quickly. We know you didn't do it. But Daniel and his father have the best lawyers in the city. They're painting you as a disturbed woman who couldn't handle rejection. Victoria Hayes gave a statement saying you've been obsessed with Daniel, that she tried to help you but you attacked her. My world crumbled further with each word. Where's the phone? Victoria's phone with the photos. What phone? Dad asked. They hadn't found it. It must have been destroyed in the fire, or Daniel had gone back for it. My only proof was gone. ##### the long road. The next 6 months were a nightmare of surgeries, physical therapy, and legal battles. My parents mortgaged their house to pay for lawyers, but it wasn't enough. Daniel's team buried us in paperwork and legal fees. The case never went to trial. There was too much evidence against me. I lost everything. My career, my reputation, my face, my future. The architectural community blacklisted me. Job applications went unanswered. People crossed the street to avoid me, unable to look at my scarred face. I thought about giving up countless times during those dark months, but something kept me going. A white-hot core of rage that refused to be extinguished. Daniel Sterling had taken everything from me, but he'd made one mistake. He'd left me alive. #### a new beginning. Dr. James Park entered my hospital room one cold February morning, 7 months after the fire. He was a renowned plastic surgeon, famous for reconstructive work with burn victims. He sat down across from me, studying my face with professional interest. "Miss Chun, I've been following your case," he said directly. "Both the medical aspect and the legal situation. I believe you were framed." I stared at him, hardly daring to hope. "Why?" "Because I've seen Daniel Sterling's work. He's competent but not brilliant. The Riverside Tower design is brilliant. It had to be yours." Tears streamed down my ruined face. Someone believed me. "I want to offer you something," Dr. Park continued. "Complete facial reconstruction. Multiple surgeries over the next year. I'll do it for free. Consider it my contribution to justice." "Why would you do this?" His expression darkened. "Because 10 years ago, Daniel Sterling's father cheated my brother out of a major contract. My brother took his own life over the shame. I couldn't save him, but maybe I can help you get your life back." "I don't just want my life back," I said, my voice hardening with determination. "I want revenge. I want to destroy Daniel Sterling the way he destroyed me." Dr. Park smiled grimly. "Then let's get started. But Maya, revenge is a fire that can consume you. Make sure you don't burn yourself again in the process." Over the next year, I underwent 12 surgeries. Each one was painful, but I welcomed the pain. It reminded me I was alive, that I was rebuilding myself. Dr. Park was a genius. He didn't just repair my face, he transformed it. Cheekbone restructuring, a refined nose, different eye shape. When he was finished, Maya Chan no longer existed. In her place stood someone new. Someone stronger. Someone dangerous. I studied everything I could about Daniel and Sterling and Associates. I took online courses to expand my skills. I created a new identity, a new portfolio, a new life. My name was Elena Rivers now, and I was coming for Daniel Sterling with everything I had. The fire that had tried to kill Maya Chan had forged something far more dangerous, a woman who had nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. ### Part 2. Rising from the ashes. ### The return. 2 years after the fire, I stood outside the Platinum Towers of Wellington Development Group, my reflection sharp and unfamiliar in the glass doors. My new face was beautiful. Dr. Park had outdone himself, but it was the stranger's eyes that caught me off guard every morning. Cold. Calculating. Nothing like the naive girl who trusted Daniel Sterling. "Miss Rivers." The receptionist smiled warmly. "Mr. Wellington is ready to see you." Elena Rivers had an impressive background, at least on paper. Graduated from the Royal College of Art in London, worked with prestigious firms across Europe, specialized in sustainable luxury developments. Every credential was real, backed by documents that couldn't be traced to Maya Chan. Dr. Park had connections I'd never imagined. Marcus Wellington's office occupied the entire top floor, with views of the Manhattan skyline that once would have taken my breath away. Now I only saw territory to be conquered. The man himself stood by the window, tall, broad-shouldered, maybe 38, with dark hair showing distinguished gray at the temples. He turned as I entered, and his green eyes assessed me with sharp intelligence. "Miss Rivers," he extended his hand, "your portfolio is remarkable, particularly the Copenhagen project." Affordable housing disguised as luxury, genius. Thank you, Mr. Wellington. My voice was different now, too, lower, with a slight British accent I'd perfected over months of practice. I believe architecture should serve everyone, not just the wealthy. A woman after my own heart. He gestured to the leather chairs by his desk. I'll be direct. I need someone who can beat Sterling and Associates. They've dominated this city for too long, and they're getting sloppy. I want to take them down. My pulse quickened, but I kept my expression neutral. Personal grudge or business strategy? Marcus laughed, a warm sound that surprised me. Both. Richard Sterling stole a design from my father 20 years ago. Built his empire on someone else's foundation. I've been waiting for the right moment to return the favor. Revenge is expensive, Mr. Wellington. Call me Marcus. And yes, it is. But so is justice. He pulled out a folder. Sterling and Associates is struggling. Their golden boy, Daniel, has been making terrible decisions since he took over operations. They've lost 3 major clients in the past 6 months. They're vulnerable. I pretended to study the documents, but I'd memorized every detail weeks ago. Daniel had indeed been failing spectacularly. Part of me felt satisfaction. He'd stolen my designs and couldn't create anything worthwhile on his own. But it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. I'm interested, I said carefully. But I have conditions. I want creative control on all projects. I want to choose which clients we pursue. And I want 15% equity in any project I design. Marcus raised his eyebrows. You don't ask for much. I deliver results, Marcus. I promise you within 6 months, Sterling and Associates will be begging for mercy. He studied me for a long moment, those green eyes seeing too much. There's something fierce about you, Elena. Something that says you've been through fire. If only he knew. I've learned that in this business, you're either the hunter or the prey. I prefer being the hunter. Then welcome to Wellington Development. Marcus stood, extending his hand again. Let's burn Sterling to the ground. Hashtag the game begins. My first target was the Harborview project, a waterfront development that Sterling and Associates desperately needed to secure their financial future. I'd seen the preliminary designs Daniel was proposing, uninspired, generic, the kind of cookie-cutter condos that were ruining the city's waterfront. I spent 3 weeks creating something revolutionary. A floating community that integrated with the water rather than dominating it, with public access maintained throughout, green spaces on every level, and units ranging from affordable studios to luxury penthouses. It was everything the Riverside Tower should have been. Refined by 2 years of rage and determination. The City Planning Committee meeting was held in a sterile conference room downtown. Daniel arrived with Victoria on his arm, both of them impeccably dressed and confident. He'd aged well, still handsome, still charming. Victoria had been promoted to Director of Client Relations, I'd learned. She'd literally profited from my destruction. They didn't recognize me. Why would they? Elena Rivers looked nothing like the Maya-chan they destroyed. I sat in the back, watching as Daniel presented his mediocre vision with practiced charisma. Sterling and Associates has always been committed to luxury and excellence, he concluded. This development will bring unprecedented value to the waterfront. The committee members looked underwhelmed. Then Marcus stood up. Mr. Chairman, if I may present an alternative vision. Daniel's eyes narrowed as he recognized Marcus. Old rivalry, old hatred. Perfect. Marcus introduced me smoothly. Our lead architect, Elena Rivers, has created something I think you'll find far more exciting. I walked to the front, feeling Daniel's eyes on me. No recognition. Just male appreciation for an attractive woman. Good. My presentation was flawless. The committee members leaned forward, excited, asking questions I'd anticipated. I spoke about sustainability, community integration, the future of urban living. Everything Maya-chan had believed in, weaponized against the man who'd killed her. When I finished, the chairman was actually smiling. Miss Rivers, this is exactly the kind of forward-thinking design we need. Motion to approve Wellington Development's proposal. Seconded. Passed unanimously. Daniel's face went white with shock. Victoria's hand tightened on his arm, her perfect composure cracking. Congratulations, Miss Rivers. Daniel said as we passed in the hallway after the meeting, his charm automatic. That was quite a presentation. Perhaps we could discuss your approach over dinner sometime. Victoria's jaw clenched, but she smiled tightly. Daniel's just being professional. I appreciate the offer, I said coolly, but I make it a policy not to socialize with the competition. Nothing personal. His smile faltered. He wasn't used to being rejected. Good. Let him wonder. Let him want what he couldn't have. #### unexpected complications. Marcus took me to dinner that night to celebrate, choosing a small Italian restaurant in the village that felt intimate rather than corporate. The wine was excellent, the conversation surprisingly easy. You were magnificent today, Marcus said, raising his glass. I've never seen Sterling look so defeated. He's used to winning, I replied. It's good for him to remember what losing feels like. You really don't like him, do you? I chose my words carefully. I dislike arrogance. Men who think they're untouchable. Including me? Marcus asked with a slight smile. You're different. You're arrogant, but you've earned it. Daniel Sterling built his reputation on stolen designs and family connections. Marcus set down his glass, his expression thoughtful. There's a story there. Want to tell it? No, I said simply. But thank you for asking. He nodded, not pushing, and I found myself relaxing slightly. Marcus Wellington was supposed to be a tool, a means to destroy Daniel. But he was also intelligent, principled, and unsettlingly perceptive. Being around him felt dangerous in a different way than I'd anticipated. #### the web titans. Over the next 3 months, I systematically dismantled Daniel's professional life. Every project Sterling and Associates pitched for, I created something better. Every client they courted, I impressed more. Wellington Development became the hottest firm in the city, and Elena Rivers was the name on everyone's lips. I saw Daniel at industry events, always with Victoria, always trying to maintain his facade of success. But the cracks were showing. Dark circles under his eyes, tension in his smile. His father had retired, leaving him fully in charge just in time to watch the company crumble. Part of me felt triumphant. But another part, the part that remembered loving him, felt hollow. Marcus noticed. After a particularly brutal presentation where I'd publicly outmaneuvered Daniel on the Hudson Yards expansion, Marcus cornered me in his office. Elena, what's really going on? He asked directly. This isn't just about winning contracts. You're personally targeting Daniel Sterling. He deserves it, I said coldly. I won't argue with that. But revenge has a cost. I've seen it. Marcus moved closer, his presence warm and solid. My father spent years hating Richard Sterling. Consumed him. Even after we succeeded, after we built something bigger than Sterling ever had, my father couldn't let it go. He died angry, Elena. Don't let that be you. I'm not your father. No, you're more dangerous. Because you're brilliant enough to actually destroy Daniel completely. And I think that's what scares me. Why would that scare you? I challenged. Marcus reached out, his hand gentle on my cheek. Because somewhere along the way I started caring about what happens to you. And I don't want to watch revenge eat you alive. The moment hung between us, electric and terrifying. I'd built walls around my heart, convinced I'd never trust anyone again. But Marcus Wellington was slowly dismantling those walls with patience and genuine concern. Before I could stop myself, I leaned into his touch, letting myself feel safe for just one moment. Then reality crashed back and I pulled away. I need to finish this, I whispered. I know, Marcus said quietly. But let me help you do it the right way. Let's not just destroy Daniel. Let's build something so magnificent that his failure becomes inevitable. Let success be your revenge. #### the gathering storm. Daniel started making desperate moves. He slashed prices, made unrealistic promises to clients, took on projects his firm couldn't handle. Sterling and Associates was hemorrhaging money, and everyone in the industry could see it. Victoria came to see me at my office one afternoon in early November. She'd called ahead, asking for a meeting about a business opportunity. I almost laughed. Instead, I agreed, curious about what scheme she was planning now. She looked older, tired, though still beautiful. Her designer suit couldn't hide the stress in her eyes. Miss Rivers, I'll be direct, Victoria said, sitting across from my desk. Sterling and Associates needs help. We're willing to discuss a merger with Wellington Development. A merger? I kept my voice neutral. Or a buyout? Whatever terms you'd consider fair. Daniel and I have discussed it extensively. We're prepared to be reasonable. How generous. I leaned back in my chair. Tell me, Victoria, does Daniel know you're here? Or is this your idea? Her composure cracked slightly. Daniel's pride makes things difficult sometimes. But I'm trying to save what we've built. What you've built, I repeated. Tell me about that. Tell me about the Riverside Tower. Victoria's eyes narrowed. That was years ago. And the architect who designed it, Maya-chan, she stole the concept from Harrison and Reed. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that, I echoed. Interesting how certainty works, isn't it? How easily people believe a convenient story. What are you implying? I pulled out a folder I'd been preparing for weeks. Inside were documents I'd painstakingly reconstructed, server logs, email metadata, witness statements from people who'd seen Victoria and Daniel together before Maya-chan was framed. Nothing definitive yet, but suggestive. Enough to plant doubt. I'm implying that sometimes the official story isn't the complete truth, I said, sliding the folder across the desk. And that secrets have a way of surfacing eventually. Victoria's face went pale as she flipped through the documents. Where did you get these? I'm thorough in my research, Victoria. I like to know who I'm dealing with. I smiled coldly. Tell Daniel there won't be a merger. Tell him Wellington Development doesn't partner with companies built on lies. You don't know what you're talking about, Victoria said, but her voice shook. Don't I? I leaned forward. Here's what I do know. Sterling and Associates is failing because it's rotten from the foundation. And when it falls, everyone will finally see the truth about what Daniel Sterling really is. A mediocre architect who stole his success from someone more talented. Victoria stood abruptly. You're making a mistake, Miss Rivers. Daniel has powerful friends. So do I said softly. And unlike Daniel, I didn't have to destroy anyone to earn them. After she left, I sat alone in my office, hands shaking with adrenaline. Marcus found me there an hour later, staring out at the city lights. Victoria Hayes just stormed out of the building looking like she'd seen a ghost, he said, sitting beside me. What did you do? Showed her some documents. Nothing illegal, just suggestive. Elena. Marcus turned to face me. I need to know. What really happened between you and Daniel Sterling? The question hung in the air. I'd been so careful, so controlled. But the way Marcus looked at me, with genuine concern and something that might be love, made the walls crack. He destroyed someone I cared about, I said finally. Someone talented and trusting who believed in him. He used her, framed her for crimes she didn't commit, and left her to burn. Literally. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. And you're here to make sure he pays for it. Yes. Is the person you're avenging, are they dead? I looked at him, this man who'd become so important to me without my permission. She might as well be. The person she was doesn't exist anymore. Understanding dawned in Marcus's eyes. Elena. Don't, I said quickly. Don't ask me questions I can't answer yet. Please. He nodded slowly. Okay. But when you're ready, I'm here. And whatever happened, whatever you need to do to make it right, I'm with you. Not just as your boss or your business partner. As someone who cares about you. My heart ached with feelings I thought were dead. Even if revenge is all I have left? Then we'll make sure it's spectacular, Marcus said, taking my hand. But after it's done, Elena, you have to promise me you'll let yourself live again. Really live. Not just exist for vengeance. I couldn't promise that. Not yet. But as I sat there with Marcus beside me, I felt something shift. Maybe revenge didn't have to consume everything. Maybe there was room for something else too. The annual Sterling and Associates Gala was in 6 weeks. The company's 50th anniversary. It would be held at the same hotel where my life had been destroyed 3 years ago. And it would be the perfect stage for Elena Rivers's final act. ## Part 3. The Reckoning and Redemption. ### The Invitation. The cream-colored envelope arrived at Wellington Development on a cold December morning. Embossed gold lettering announced, Sterling and Associates 50th Anniversary Gala. You are cordially invited to celebrate 5 decades of architectural excellence. Marcus tossed it on my desk with a grim smile. They're desperate. Inviting their biggest competitor to their anniversary party? Daniel must be hoping for mercy. I traced the gold letters with one finger, memories flooding back. 3 years ago, I'd stood in that same ballroom wearing a blue dress and hope in my heart. I'd believed in love, in justice, in the basic goodness of people. That girl had died in fire and betrayal. We're going, I said flatly. Elena, are you sure? We don't have to. We're going, I repeated, looking up at Marcus. It's time. Over the past weeks, Marcus and I had grown closer in ways that terrified me. Stolen kisses in empty conference rooms. Late nights working that turned into conversations about everything except revenge. He'd started staying at my apartment some nights, holding me when nightmares of the fire woke me screaming. I hadn't told him everything. Not about Maya-chan. Not about the scars hidden beneath my expensive clothes. Not about the phone with evidence that had burned with my old life. But he knew enough to understand that this gala meant more than just another business event. Then we go together, Marcus said firmly. And whatever happens, I'm with you. ####the gathering evidence. I'd spent 3 years preparing for this moment, but the final weeks were crucial. Dr. Park had been quietly investigating, using his connections to find people who'd worked at Sterling and Associates during my time there. A janitor who'd seen Daniel and Victoria together late at night. An IT specialist who remembered being asked to plant files on Maya-chan's computer. A firefighter who'd noticed the burn patterns in my office suggested arson rather than accident. None of it was definitive proof, but together it painted a picture. And I had one more card to play. I need to tell you something, I said to Marcus one night, lying in his arms in my apartment. The city sparkled below us, beautiful and merciless. My real name isn't Elena Rivers. His arms tightened around me, but he didn't speak. Waiting. It's Maya-chan. 3 years ago, Daniel Sterling framed me for corporate espionage, started a fire to destroy the evidence, and locked me inside to die. I survived barely. This face, this life, everything you see. It's all rebuilt from the ashes of who I used to be. The silence stretched between us. I waited for shock, horror, betrayal that I'd lied to him. Instead, Marcus said quietly, I know. I pulled away to stare at him. What? I've known for 6 months, he admitted. There was something about you that didn't add up. The way you talked about Daniel, the way you knew too much about Sterling and Associates' internal operations. I hired an investigator. You knew. Anger and something like relief warred inside me. This whole time, you knew I was lying to you? You weren't lying, Marcus said gently, pulling me back against him. Elena Rivers is who you are now. Maya-chan is who you were. I understood why you needed the separation. And you didn't say anything? I was waiting for you to trust me enough to tell me yourself. His hand traced soothing patterns on my back. I'm sorry,